We wanted to know about a connection between the kinds of areas where people grow up and how that affects how they feel about zoos. We think that people who have more contact with nature and animals, such as living and/or working on farms, will be more likely to embrace conservation and therefore understand the importance of conservation, which is in accordance to the article, The Future of Zoos and Aquariums, Conservation and Caring. On the other hand, we think that suburban and urban citizens are more likely to go to zoos because of the easier access, but are less likely to be thinking about conservational reasons when visiting. In a study by Dr. Mark Morgan, a survey was taken by zoogoers in Kansas, and the majority of results showed that the reason for going to the zoo was recreational. Therefore, our hypothesis was that people from rural areas are more likely to support zoos, but less likely to visit them, whereas people from urban or suburban areas may visit zoos more, but may be less supportive of them. To test our hypothesis, we surveyed 30 people at random on the oval at the Ohio State University. These were our results.
There was no significant difference between rural and urban respondents regarding the support of zoos, as both showed an almost equal proportion of about 2/3 supporting zoos and about 1/3 being neutral. Both were higher in support of zoos than the suburban respondents, the group among which the only viewpoint against zoos was found. Rural and urban respondents were also roughly equal in the percentage of people who visit a zoo at least once per year, but urban respondents had a higher percentage of people who visit a zoo more than 3 times a year. The response of suburban participants correlated with the data regarding support of zoos, having the highest percentage of people who never visit a zoo. In summary, data showed urban and rural people are equally in support of zoos, while suburban people seem more likely to be neutral or opposed to zoos. Rural and urban people are also more likely to visit zoos than suburban people, with urban people visiting zoos more frequently than rural people.
Overall, the data doesn't support a hypothesis. However, there were some correlations between the data and our hypothesis. Although we couldn't pinpoint whether rural or urban individuals were more or less likely to visit the zoo, we did see that rural and urban people are more likely to support zoos compared to people from suburban areas. In North America alone, 100 million people go to zoos and almost 600 million people worldwide. Studies have shown that people go to zoos for many different reasons, such as recreation, enjoyment, or relaxation. These reasons are influenced by how the individual perceives the role that zoos have, and this is a major factor whether they visit zoos or not. According to Turner, animals suffer physically and psychologically while in a zoo. He argues that animals shouldn't be forced into living in small enclosures and states that there is a better way to conserve animals. This expresses a possible viewpoint of people that oppose zoos. On the other hand, people that support zoos mainly view them as a conservational tool. These efforts can include rehabilitating animals' populations from near extinction to learning more about their patterns and behaviors that they exhibit. One researcher found that in certain species that display different limb preferences from the rest of the population have a social disadvantage and receive more aggression as a result of the different limb preference. Data like this would be almost impossible to collect if animals were in their natural habitat. Based on the individual's values and other factors, such as background demographics, they form how an individual views zoos and whether or not they are likely to visit zoos.